All right. Welcome, everybody, to the SmartBiz Advisors podcast. This is where we talk everything about small businesses and entrepreneurship. My name is John Jones. I'm your host. And as always, I'm joined by my good friend and colleague, Mr. Mark Fackrell. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Good morning, John. I'm doing well.
Excellent. Excellent. You look good. Appreciate it. Today, we're going to be discussing navigating business licensing and registration. Okay. These are obviously essential things for entrepreneurs. You know, if you don't have this structured, set up, arranged correctly, you may encounter problems in the future. So let's begin by discussing, the importance of business licensing. Okay. You know, what does it involve? What elements are there, and what is necessary to consider when we're discussing about the importance of business licensing? Mark.
That's a great question, John. So business licensing is one of those things that every business has to be concerned about. So you've got a perception aspect of it, and that is, if somebody's doing business with your company and you're not properly registered or licensed, then you don't seem like a legitimate business, right? So
Yeah.
there's an aspect of legitimacy that goes along with it. And then there's also a compliance aspect of it. And in a lot of places, if you're operating and doing business, you can actually get in trouble from the government if you don't take the proper steps, and they can fine you and they can even close your business down. I mean, if you're doing something professional like, counseling or healthcare or things like that, I think you can actually go to jail if you don't have the proper licensing. So it's a pretty important deal that people need to take into consideration when they're starting businesses.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably also health and safety as well, and tax. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. It covers a wide area of potentialities and topics. So it's imperative that small business people understand it. So that said, there's obviously different types of business licenses. So, obviously, depending on the nature and the location of the business, what they're selling, what they're doing, what kind of different business licenses are there? What do we have to consider?
So this is really very specific to the location where you're operating your business, right? So
All right.
we've got situations where at a federal level, there's not a whole lot of requirements for any business. You need to
Okay.
get they require that you pay taxes. So the only real business licensing requirement from a federal standpoint is that you have the ability to pay taxes.
Okay.
So that can be done, through yourself or through your business. We've got another episode where we talk a lot more in depth about that sort of thing. So I would just refer anybody, if they have any questions about that, to refer
Business
to that
structures.
video.
Okay.
Business structures. So then you come down to the state level, and that is it's a little bit more. There are a few more requirements for that than there are at the federal level, and it really kind of depends on what kind of business you're doing, right? So if you're an accountant, you have to be licensed with your state board. If you're a counselor, you need to be licensed. You're a doctor. So it depends upon the state that you're in, and it also depends on what your profession is. If you are just doing a general business, most states don't require that you be licensed just to do business, but some do. So you really need to talk to an attorney, and you need to talk to a CPA about the requirements of doing business in your state. And then, so similarly to that, each locality in each state may have different requirements. So a lot of cities require you to have just a general business license to do any kind of business.
Okay.
And so you need to figure out, again, you need to talk to a CPA or an attorney, or both, and figure out what the requirements are for each one of the places that you're doing business in.
Okay. Okay. So, um, general business licenses. It's something that's provided or issued, applied for at the state level, generally speaking, right?
For a professional type service, yeah. For a general business, like I said, most of those don't require
Okay.
a business license, but some states do. So
Okay. So we have, so other than general business licenses, we had, like you mentioned, professional licenses. So doctor, lawyer, uh,
yeah.
maybe other engineering or health or, education based. So that, depending on what you're in, you'll likely have some idea. Um, and then there's, there were potentially health department permits if you were maybe running a barber shop or a restaurant, that kind of stuff, right?
Yep. Yep.
Zoning maybe, or land use if you maybe had clients on site, like maybe what would there any like if you had if you were teaching a course, for example, and you hired a or you rented out an office, is there anything relevant to that, or do you think you're okay?
So I would say that the biggest consideration there is if you're serving public, if you're serving the public, if you have people coming into your establishment, that's going to be a lot more heavily regulated, right? So food is a good example. So you mentioned the health department or a barber shop. These things you're going to have to generally, get a permit from your local health department, and that's usually at a city or a county level.
Hmm.
Zoning and land use permits, that's another sort of thing. So if you've got you know, you can only do business the way most localities have it set up is, you can only do
Hmm.
a certain kind of a business in a certain area, right? So
Yeah.
if you are
Yes.
serving the public, you can't do that out of your primary residence. You've got to go into a place that's zoned for some sort of commercial use.
Okay.
And so you know, and a lot of this stuff you can figure out the answers to. You just contact your local, chamber of commerce, your local, city licensing office, and ask them just have a conversation with them. Say, hey, this is the business that I'm doing.
Okay.
I need to know what kind of permits that I need to get for it, and they will
Okay.
help you because it's obviously in their interest to do that because that's what they're there
Hmm.
for. The other
Sure.
important thing I think that we need to consider on this is sales tax,
Yeah. 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 That's what I was just
and
about.
that's
Yeah.
that's governed at a state level, right? So, and every state has different rules about this, but in almost every state, if you're selling any sort of a physical product, you are required to register with the state and collect sales tax, and then remit that to the government. And there's tools out there that can help you with that.
Yes. Okay, yeah, let's talk about that real quick. Sales tax, it's important in our past business dealings. We have extensive experience with this. You know, yeah, tell us a little bit. In what scenario do I need a sales tax permit, and where can I do without one, and what's involved with getting that?
So that's a great question. So sales tax is something I think that a lot of people may overlook,
Yes,
and
yes, definitely.
where it really gets you is like on an online business. So you referenced, what our previous business relationships have been like. So
Yep, yep,
you had a website, you were selling physical products to people all over
yep.
the country, right?
Yeah, right.
And so what happens is that if you're shipping products, this is one of the complexities of it. You don't even have to be
Mm-hmm.
located in a state in order to have to pay sales tax to them. So
Correct,
if you're
correct.
shipping products to a state, in many cases you're going to be required to.
All right. We're back again, guys. We got Mark online, and so we can continue our discussion. We were just mentioning online sales, which I'm sure some of you guys are doing. So it's very important to know about sales tax, when you should pay it, where you should pay it, etc. So, Mark, tell us a little bit about that. You know everything there is to know about filing taxes in the states, all the states of America. So, yeah, please continue telling us about this.
Sure. Sorry about the technical difficulties there. Um, so yeah, just kind of to sum up, sales tax. There's each state has its own different rules, and it's a very complex topic. And it's something that I don't know that, there's a great deal of value in each individual business owner delving into all of the aspects of it. But there are some programs out there that can help you manage it. So one that I use extensively is called TaxJar.
Okay.
And what you can do with TaxJar, if you've got like an online shop, is you can actually integrate it with your Shopify or your WooCommerce or whatever, and it will actually help you figure out which states you have to register in. It'll actually collect the integration goes back and forth, so it'll actually set up, on your online store how much tax you should collect, and then it's got even an additional feature that you have to pay extra for, obviously, where they will register for you, and then they will actually file the tax returns for you. So,
oh wow.
You can use that service to do all of that stuff, or you can hire a CPA, or there's other firms out there that will actually do this stuff for you. So I would strongly recommend people lean on some of those other resources to help you with that compliance aspect of it, because, the states get pretty grumpy if you are doing business and they think you should be collecting taxes and you're not. The fines can be pretty significant.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. So TaxJar, yes, I've also used it. It's absolutely pertinent if you're doing any kind of volume. I think it's worth saying, we don't need to go into it in depth. We discussed it in a previous show that we had, but sales tax nexus is when by law you should, or you're required, I should say, to file to pay sales tax, to pay sales tax in a specific state. And if memory serves me, at the moment, unless you have your physical inventory in the state, or you're physically located in the state, or perhaps even have a bank account in the state, you may not have to file taxes there or pay sales tax there unless you meet something like it's something in the order of 200 transactions a month or $10,000 a month, something in there. A quick internet search could find that, but I just want everyone to know that there are thresholds for this. It's public information. You can do a search, so make sure you do know about that. Right,
yeah,
Mark?
that's a really good point that you make there, and every state is different, right? So it's something that you really need to pay attention to if you've got an online business where you're shipping products to people, because there is that same issue that you're talking about. And the other thing, the one thing that's kind of tricky about this is that I think a lot of people overlook is if you're selling through Amazon. Amazon will actually take care of all the stuff that you do from an Amazon sales standpoint. Yes. But if you've got inventory in an Amazon facility, that will create nexus. And so if you're selling also from your own website, that means that you're going to have to file those taxes yourself for things that you sell that are not through Amazon.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, Amazon does help. It is helpful, but to the extent that you're doing business outside of Amazon, you need to pay attention, and you are responsible for that. Correct. So just as kind of an adjunct, I bet there's a lot of people that would ask or may ask, hey, I want to sell dehydrated strawberries, or, I've created, trail mix that I want to sell online to people at the supermarket, etc. There is a lot of, does the government have to give you a license to sell your cupcakes? Do you have any information about this kind of thing, Mark? Is this kind of thing controlled by the U.S. government?
So this is an area that is controlled by the federal government. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. And I don't have a lot of dealing with selling food products specifically, but I do know that it's heavily regulated. So I know that the Food and Drug Administration has requirements about this, so you would want to contact your local FDA office if you're planning on selling anything that people are going to consume. I know that there are licensing and inspection requirements for all of that sort of thing. And then if you're selling anything that has like meat or anything like that, it has to be dealt with by the USDA. So the USDA regulates anything that comes from like an animal, like so meat products or cheese or anything like that is regulated by the FDA, and then anything that's not like or the USDA, and then anything that is food or herbal supplements, anything that someone's going to consume that's not like a meat product
or put on their skin
on their skin. Yep, that's a very good point. Yep. Makeup, anything like that, lotion, that's all regulated by the federal government. So you've got to make sure that you're meeting those requirements as well.
So doubtless there's somebody listening to us that has this kind of crucial, dilemma or this kind of issue. And so it's important that we acknowledge that it's necessary for you guys to do independent research. And maybe down the line, we could also do some deeper dive into this area if someone out there has the need or the interest. We can maybe share our opinions on it, do something a little bit more on this topic.
Absolutely.
All right. So carrying on. Now we've kind of done this, at least to some extent, in another video that we did, but we need to at least touch on the key steps in business registration. So there are a few elements that are crucial to setting up and carrying out your business. So, Mark, can you tell us? Let's start from choosing your business structure, registering it, and down the line. How does that work?
That's also a great question. So I'm not going to dive real deep into this. As you mentioned, we've got another video on this topic that people can go look at. But you can just register and do a business through your own name, which has advantages and disadvantages. But let's just assume for the purpose of this conversation that somebody's going to go set up an LLC or a corporation.
Okay.
In order to do that, you've got to get a federal tax ID number from the U.S. government. You have to register with your local state as an LLC or a corporation. And you can do all of these things yourself. You can Google it and research it and do it all yourself. Or you can use a third-party service to do that. And, your accountant or your CPA or your attorney can help you with that. There's also another good organization that I've used a lot called InCorp Services, which will do all those things for you for a fee, obviously.
Okay, great. Yeah. InCorp Services, we've mentioned before. I've used them. You use them. It's a great resource to go to if you need to both set up your business and then, you have regulatory applications on an ongoing basis from there. So definitely keep that in mind. So other than the actual going to your Secretary of State, registering your business name, obtaining the tax identification number. What else do we have? What else? Is there anything else that we need? Anything else that needs to be mentioned?
No, just, I would just reiterate the importance of doing research on your specific location, your specific state. And there's a lot of resources out there. I mean, the government has a lot of resources. If you just, Google, I'm setting up a, barbershop in Akron, Ohio, it'll take you to the, local website there. And they're usually got a ton of resources that will tell you all the things that you need to do. Yeah.
I think that's a good place to kind of remind the folks listening to us, that these are all common things that other entrepreneurs are facing. And so it's likely not new. And so there are resources out there. You should, and again, this really kind of emphasizes some of the overarching key concepts that we've been pushing in our discussions, in our videos, and that is, budgeting and having a business planning. Uh, you know, all of this is absolutely possible to do yourself, including filing state sales tax. But you have to be organized. You're going to need to take notes. You're going to have to keep your records tidy. And so, yep. But just remember that these are all things that others have gone through in the past. And so there are ways to get the answers you need, including coming to us. So I think it's really important for us to make clear to our community that you guys tell us what you need, tell us what problems you have, let us know what interests or what troubles you, so that we can help you. We can either do a discussion, or we can actually research that specific issue. It may be of some value to others, which would be, helpful for everyone involved. Right, Mark?
You're absolutely right, John. I mean, you and I have talked about this, extensively in the past, and I think that, our shared goal with this platform that we're creating here is to generate a ton of free resources for businesses, right? And it's not that, we're necessarily, saints or anything, but, we have a lot of business experience that, people can benefit from. And it helps us in our business. I mean, we do make some money with affiliate marketing and things like that. And some of the products that we push, we do get paid for. But all of this stuff can be done for free, right? I mean, almost all of it can be done for, almost free or very minimal cost. And it's really our goal to help educate people. And I feel like the more that we educate people and help others, the more it's going to, build the success of what we're doing here.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I want to emphasize that actually I love this. It's exciting. I'm passionate about it. I have so much experience, as do you. And I want to help others for free. So I invite them. Granted, we can do all kinds of different things. We can provide different services, access to different products. We'll continue to discuss these and explore them and introduce them to our listeners. But this is our pleasure. To help you guys is our pleasure and our privilege. So let us know. Now, let's just kind of recap what we've discussed. So, what we started out here with, business licensing. So we know that from a federal standpoint, we just need to be paying our taxes, right? General business licensing, right? We're going to work with the state on that. We may or may not need a professional license, depending on the technical elements potentially, or health or other elements related to what we're doing. Zoning and land, if you've got a physical location or you need to look after people's safety, that's something you have to keep in mind. And then sales tax, right? Sales tax is probably the biggest one people are going to be coming up against early on in their business. What else? So after that, we made mention of a business structure, LLC, or a corporation, registering your business name, obtaining an EIN, and what else? And then just some of the sort of challenges. We know that not everything is maybe clear, but there are definitely some resources that you can probably access. What do you think, Mark? What do you think are some of the best free resources that people can reach out to get information or advice about these kind of things? Do you know of anything specifically?
So, I mean, reach out to your local, your local government and ask them. Another service that is provided by the federal government is the Small Business Development Center. And their whole purpose is to
Mm-hmm.
help small businesses get started. And they have a lot of free
Right.
advice. They do free counseling. They will help you
Yep.
create business plans. They've got a ton of resources that they can help you with lending. They can help with all sorts of small business things. They're not terribly efficient because they're the government, but they are free and they're available to everybody. So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, but goes along with some of the key points that we mentioned in our past videos, and that is, being patient, being committed, schedule, take notes. The small business development centers, may not be quick, but they will give you a response. They will help you. So you just have to be patient, be clear with them, focused, and you can get to the bottom of any problem you're facing.
yeah.
Don't forget to consult with, your legal advisor, your CPA, other people in your, other successful folks in your community. And yeah, those are our key points for today. Mark, do you have anything else you want to add before we wrap this one up?
I think you've done a really good job of summing it up, John. Thanks for your time, and always enjoy the conversation with you.
Yeah, guys, appreciate everyone for tuning in. Remember, with the right preparation, you know, all of these legal requirements can become the stepping stones for your business success. So don't be afraid. Make sure you keep these all in mind. Uh, be proactive. Uh, do your due diligence, and stay after it. So that is everything for today. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Remember, this is the SmartBiz Advisors podcast, where we're tackling everything about small businesses and entrepreneurship. We look forward to seeing you guys again and invite you next time when we'll be discussing more interesting topics about small business and entrepreneurship. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a good one.